What is going on, y'all? Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com, coming back at you with the Week 24 Contest Prep Vlog Update Series. So we are 24 weeks in. If I remember correctly, in 2020 when I did my prep, I was capping it at 21 or 22 weeks. So 24 weeks in and still I feel significantly better than I felt in 2020's prep. And I'm leaner now than I was in 2020's prep. I can confidently say that. I think I'm probably leaner than I was in 2017's prep. So over the next few weeks, I'll be able to confidently say I'm the leanest I've ever been. And then the next goal is to become the leanest man in the world. So I'm feeling pretty good about where we're at right now. Let's talk about some spreadsheet stuff here. So diving into the spreadsheet, I'm filming this a little bit prematurely. I normally film on Monday and go over the following week. It is currently Friday, and I'm actually filming this week during the week because I'm leaving for my next competition on Sunday, but I know what the rest of the data for this week is going to be, so I'm going to go ahead and film it now. So I woke up this morning at 156.3. That is not the lightest weight of the prep. The lightest weight of the prep thus far has been 155.8, and that was on Monday of the week of the 23rd. So 156.3 this morning. I started the week at 158. I started the week with a macro intake of 125 grams of fat, 160 grams of protein, and 15 grams of total carbs for a total of 1825 on the calories. So definitely getting lower on the caloric front. However, my refeed is continuing to go up. So my refeed, which is today actually, since I'm filming this on Friday, is going to be 230 grams of fat, 230 grams of protein, 15 grams of total carbs. So today's intake is going to be just over 3,000 calories, which I'm super excited about. But that averaged out over the whole week yields an average intake of right at 2,000 calories. So if you were to average the refeeds intake out over the other 6 days, I'm basically averaging 2,000 calories a day right now, again with 6 of those 7 days being 1825. So a pretty significant deficit for me. That average winds up being 63% of my total calories coming from dietary fat, so definitely a majority fat intake. And then the refeed macros wind up being about 67.9% of my total calories coming from dietary fat. So that's what we're looking like there. Cardio, I'm going to hold that constant this week, 20 minutes at level 16. I did that yesterday, actually, and that felt pretty good. The level 16 is getting a little bit easier. I'm trying to only do cardio on my 2 off days from training. So I train 5 days a week typically, and I'm trying to structure my cardio so I'm doing that cardio session on those 2 off days. So I'm doing something every single day, but I'm not doing the cardio on the training days ideally, so as simply to not deplete muscle glycogen any more than necessary. So let's talk a little bit about the macros or the foods that I'm using to comprise these macros. Not a whole lot of variation. You kind of see what that typically looks like. The only thing that I did differently this week is I reduced the egg whites down to 130 grams and pretty much kept everything else constant. Again, having the egg whites makes manipulating protein super easy because it is simply protein, and I am just simply dropping protein right now and holding fat constant. So by just simply reducing my egg white intake, I am nailing the macros on the money. One little thing that I did do, though, that is of importance, is on the 13th, let me go to the 13th here, I actually dropped my real salt intake, so my sodium intake, from 10 grams a day down to 8 grams a day, which isn't a massive difference. Like if you go back to the 12th, for instance, when I was maintaining the 10-gram intake, that put my total sodium intake for the day at 12,441 milligrams. And then I switched that on the 13th, dropped it down 2 grams, put my total intake at 11,684 grams. Why did I do that? Well, I've noticed that in the weeks prior, I was responding really well to the higher sodium intake, but then I started noticing a little bit more inflammation and swelling in my ankles. And I think the main reason being is that prior, I was doing, preparation for the 50-mile march, so I was walking a lot more on a daily basis. It was also a little bit hotter outside, So I was sweating more, I was getting a little bit more movement in, and my body could soak up that extra sodium intake without any ill effect. Since the 50-mile march is over and I am not walking the extra miles every single day, my average step count's down a little bit, and I'm not sweating as much because I'm not doing that, and it's not quite as hot. So I don't need quite as much sodium. So I'm kind of playing around with those in a very conservative fashion. I just simply took 2 grams out, which dropped my total intake by about 1,000 milligrams of sodium. And I've been doing that this will be the 3rd day doing that. And my body seems to be responding pretty well. Keep in mind, it takes 48, 56, 72 hours for the body's electrolyte equilibriums to more or less, stabilize. So you can't really make an adjustment to your sodium and then know definitively one way or the other how your body responds within 24 hours. So I'm going to hold that 8 grams constant for a bit longer, see if I need to scale it down even more, or if my body's fine with the 8 grams. Now, today is a refeed day, so I am going to have a bolus of sodium today. So let's just look at today's planned intake, actually, because it is a refeed day. So I'm having the 9 tablespoons of the Nut Pods creamer in my coffee. I bumped up my meal a little bit here, 6 eggs, 6 ounces of ground buffalo, and 13 grams, so about a tablespoon of ghee in my first meal. I normally have a brick with that meal on a typical day, but I'm moving that down to the refeed pizza. I'll have the 20 grams of almond flour, which is held constant, the 1 brick, which is held constant. I'm going to have 10 ounces of 85-15 beef now, 7 ounces of cheese, and because I scaled my sodium intake down during the day, I'm also going to be a little bit more conservative with the sodium in that refeed meal. So I dropped my anchovy intake from 50 grams the week prior down to 30 grams this week. And then I'm going to have 12 grams of that salt instead of, I think I was at like 15 or 17 grams the week prior. So my total sodium intake today is going to be about 15,000 milligrams. So that's kind of what we're doing, just slight little tweaks. The beautiful thing about doing multiple shows, having multiple peak weeks, and a few weeks in between shows like that I'm keeping constant as trial peak weeks, is I can really confidently make these adjustments, figure out how my body responds, not be hit with any surprises, and then confidently go into the actual peak week without too much uncertainty. So that's really good. Plus, with all these shows, I'm typically getting there at the location on Wednesday instead of like the day before. So any fluid retention my body's holding on to as a result of traveling has more or less stabilized, and I'm pretty much going into the show with a stable homeostatic, physique that is not being hit with a bunch of variables, which is exactly what you want going into these competitions. So I feel really good about that. Let's talk a little bit about sleep quality. Actually, before we talk about that, let's talk about composition. So I've got a DEXA scheduled for the 28th of this month. I'll let y'all know what the results are of that once I get it in. I'm also going to get blood work done, like I said in the prior video, within the next couple weeks. So I've been doing the Inbody scans, and again, they're just holding constant at 3%. I did my own Inbody scan. That's holding constant at 3%. I went to the gym that has a really nice, professional level Inbody scan. That's holding constant at 3%, but I'm getting leaner. I'm seeing more vascularity, and I know that I'm losing body fat. So I'm pretty confident that those Inbody scans are just like capped at 3%, which is frustrating, but it is what it is. The DEXA scan should give me more insights what my actual body composition is. And I will do another caliper test next week during peak week. I'm probably going to just do the caliper test every peak week going forward. So I'll be sure and let y'all know what that results in once I take that test next week. When it comes to sleep, my sleep quality has been really, really good. I'm not getting, again, enough sleep. I'm typically going to bed around 9:30, and I'm waking up at 3:30, usually 3:30 in the morning. So my total sleep quantity could improve, but that's just kind of the reality of the world I'm living in. I'm busy. I wake up. I've got a routine. But the sleep quality has been pretty good. I've been going to bed and waking up once or twice to use the restroom, expel some fluid. That's not ideal for sleep quality, but that just kind of is what it is right now. But I am falling asleep quickly. I'm staying asleep apart from waking up to use the bathroom, and that's been super smooth. I think some of the things that I can attribute to that is that I've got a very structured morning and nighttime routine right now. When I get home, I have like some electrolytes. I'm doing that Within You brand from Mark Bell Hydration. I'll have one of those, which contains about 1,000 milligrams of sodium. It's got some essential amino acids in it. I'll have that with any nighttime supplementation, which for me right now is like an organ blend complex. I take a pill of rhodiola rosea, I take Tongat Ali, and I take a magnesium breakthrough complex, which is basically just different forms of magnesium. I'll have 2 of those magnesium pills with that drink about 30 minutes before I go to sleep. I don't typically recommend watching screens before I would go to sleep, but I've been watching this very relaxing homesteading 20-minute video series with Crystal right before I go to sleep, and that knocks me out. Like it's very chill. There's no like intense moments. It's like homesteading. So I'll watch that with Crystal, drink that drink, have those magnesium pills while wearing blue light blocking glasses, and then I am just knocked out. Go to sleep right after that. I put my mouth tape on, and then I'm out. And then I don't wake up until I need to use the restroom, and then I'll wake up at 3:30, but I wake up feeling really good. So I feel good about the sleep routine. My HRV's actually been increasing, which is interesting, as much of a deficit as I'm in right now. So I feel like I'm optimizing things in that realm. With regards to strength, let's talk about strength. Strength has been one thing that's changed a little bit lately. So I definitely maintained my strength 100% on par with what I was pushing and pulling in the building phase up until the week after my first competition in Logan, Utah. Last week and this week, I have started to notice a decline in overall strength. I'm still hitting my top sets. So like, for instance, on deadlifts today, I did deadlifts. I did conventional deadlifts today, and I worked up to the final set, and I hit 425 for that final weight. In the past, I would have gotten that 4-6 times. Today, I got it twice. So I'm still hitting the top weight in the last set, but I'm not getting it for as many reps. Same is true on the set prior. Like I was doing 405 prior to that set. I normally do that for 8 reps. I got it for 6 today, I believe. 4 or 6, I can't remember. So again, still maintaining top end strength, but the volume and rep count has started to decrease a little bit these past 2 weeks. That could be a result of me simply being 25 pounds lighter and my leverage points having changed, but also the fact that I'm just in a pretty significant deficit, like more than 1,000 calories down from what I'm typically at a maintenance. So I am most certainly depleted, and that is starting to reflect now a little bit in the strength. Do I think I'm actually losing much skeletal muscle tissue? Probably not. I have no doubt that when I start increasing my food intake and I'm not in a deficit, those strength markers will improve drastically, so I'm not really concerned about it. And again, at this point, the priority for me is not to build muscle so much as it is to preserve as much as I can and optimize fat loss. I've got no doubt that I'm losing fat on a regular basis, and I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job at overall maintaining of skeletal muscle tissue. But it is kind of frustrating to see the numbers go down a little bit on total volume. But again, that just is what it is at this point in the prep. All right, let's dive into some posing footage here. So we have, this footage was taken on Monday. Got my front relaxed pose there. Much more, you can kind of see just a little bit of vascularity peeking out on the side poses, which is exciting for sure. Much more definition in the hamstrings. I mean, you can see everything there. You can kind of see the vascularity coming through a little bit on the sides of the legs, which is what we want. And again, this footage doesn't do it justice. When I'm looking in the mirror, it's like a whole nother level of vascularity, but you can start to see it peeking through in the video. Like you can see my vein right there in my legs that you couldn't see prior, all the feathering in the legs. It's just coming together pretty good from a conditioning standpoint. Here you can kind of see with the shadows, the vascularity on the hamstring on the opposite side there. So when you've got veins coming through your hamstrings, you're getting pretty dialed in. So we got side tricep pose there, just going through the mandatory rounds, the muscular rounds here. One thing I am doing with the posing starting this week is I've got my stopwatch and I've been increasing the time I'm holding these poses. Not on this video so much, but like as I'm practicing my posing, I'll have it set for like 10 seconds and I'll have Chip, who's filming, hit the stopwatch and not tell me to switch the pose until after 10 seconds has elapsed. Today I did 15 seconds. Tomorrow I'll do 20 seconds. And the goal there is just to simply hold and maintain those poses, keeping the muscles contracted so that when I'm on stage with the other competitors, like I was talking about last week, I'm not getting overly winded and shaking like a leaf on stage. So there are the mandatory muscular poses there, hitting the most muscular, hands grasping most muscular, and finishing out with the crab most muscular. And that is what we got. And again, I'm not going to show y'all the routine yet. You're just going to have to wait to see that at a later date. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is the update here from a macro standpoint, a food standpoint, a little sleep and strength update, and some posing. We are leaving, like I said, on Sunday for this New York show. This is the second show of 5, so I'm stoked about that. I submitted all my information. I sent them my music for my routine. I'm going to be able to do my routine at this show. Sent them all the information for the polygraph test. This show, the second show, is the INBF WNBF Federation as opposed to the OCB Federation that the first show was. And already I'm telling you, there's a lot more rigid and strict criteria with the INBF, WNBF. They make you fill out a, banned substance questionnaire. And like I said in prior videos, I always just get nervous with test taking. I know I've never taken anything that I've known to be anabolic. I've shared with you all my hormone panels, and my testosterone is pretty freaking low right now. So I'm obviously not taking anything to artificially boost my testosterone levels. But like they have a questionnaire that you have to fill out, asking if you have any kinds of illnesses, diseases, medications, prescription drugs, anything of that you need to get a clearance from your doctor. Answer no to all of those, obviously. And then there was like a section that asked you to list whatever supplements you've taken in preparation for this show. So I listed all that out, which again is pretty simple. I made it very long because I want to be as detail-oriented as possible. So I'm including things like, sodium, potassium, coffee, green tea, like things that most people would not probably put on a drug questionnaire screening thing. But I just want to give them everything so that there's no question as to what I've taken. But yeah, my supplementation is pretty minimal, as I've shared with y'all. And I'll go in, I'll do my polygraph test, I'll document all that. I submitted my membership, I signed up, and I bought the membership for the INBF WNBF Federation, signed up for the photographer package, signed up for the tanning package. So all of those appointments have been booked, and we are leaving on Sunday, and we'll get there on Wednesday, and we'll hit the ground running with the tanning, the polygraph, the competitor check-in. We're doing a check-in on Monday via Zoom as like a competitor meeting. So we'll do all that next week. So we're about to hit the road for show number 2. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and I'll be sure to give y'all a great update for next week, which is an actual peak week. So we'll see you then.